Okay, all right. So let's just settle into our meditation posture. It's a good way to kind of bring our mind and our body into the same place before we start. So check your legs. If you are sitting on a chair with your feet on the ground, keep your legs parallel and your feet parallel, feet flat on the floor. If you're sitting on a couch or a cushion, or you're sitting on a chair cross-legged, you can have them in just an ordinary cross-legged position or in a full Vajra position with both feet over both thighs. That's quite difficult. Just raise your coccyx slightly so your hips are slightly tipped forward. And this helps to straighten the spine. We can just visualize that our spine, from our coccyx running up through our spine to the top of our head, is a string of pearls. And these pearls are made of light, and the string that's attaching them is also made of light. So just visualize that this string of pearls is very gently lengthening upwards. So we're just extending our spine, putting some space in between those vertebrae, giving some breathing space to our spines. You know, after we're walking around all day long, we tend to kind of crush down those discs. So we need to slightly tip forward, tip of the tongue on the roof of the mouth, eyes down, hands in the meditation mudra. But just go to the crown of our head and just relax your scalp, the back of the head, the forehead, the temples, the ears. Relax your eyes, your cheeks, your nose, and your mouth, and your jaw. And relax your shoulders, your chest, and your arms, hands, legs and feet, and your toes and your fingers. And then just notice what's going on in your back. It's hard to imagine relaxing the back, but just see if you can just release any tension there. Just be aware of what's going on in your body. And make sure you haven't slumped. Relax your belly. And bring your mind to your breath, just breathing in and breathing out. And we just think we're here this evening to do our final practice of the day before we go to bed, this purification practice, so we can be of benefit to others. Purify all our negative karma and the seeds and the imprints of those seeds as we move towards our own enlightenment, perfecting our potential again so we can be of benefit to others. So just again to remind ourselves, there is nothing that we have done that's negative that we cannot purify. It's all doable. Nothing is so bad that we can't purify it. It's so good to hear that. So comforting. So the first thing we're going to do, the first step, is the power of regret. So we sincerely regret from the depths of our heart anything that we have done to harm any living being on this day, in this life, or in our past lives. And we can think of specific actions with our body, with our speech, and then anything we've done generally, just regret. Sometimes we might not remember, or we might not even know. And as I said before, Lama Zopa Rinpoche says that this regret goes a long way towards purification. So we would think like this: I regret from the depths of my heart having harmed others with my body and my speech, broken my vows. So for those of us who have either prana-moksha vows or bodhisattva vows or tantric vows, if any of these have been broken or they've just kind of slipping or degenerated in some way, just regret from the depths of our heart, not taking care of these vows, which are so precious. And so these negativities that arise in our mind, such as anger, attachment, grasping, we can regret these as well. Because it's these kinds of emotions that lead us to take actions, these kind of thoughts, angry thoughts, lead us to take action that is often harmful to others. So the next step is, to whom do I turn? And in this case, this is the power of reliance. And refuge is the first part of this power of reliance. So we turn to the Buddha, the doctor, and in this case it's Vajrasattva. We're not asking Vajrasattva to forgive us. We're using the methods, we're using Vajrasattva's methods to purify our negative karma. So we'll visualize Vajrasattva about 2 inches above the crown of our head. Matt, would you mind putting the picture up? Thank you. So this is, imagine the Guru Vajrasattva, this is above the crown of our head, and just in this translucent white light. Brilliant, almost like a hologram, as you can imagine, above your head. And if it's difficult for you to visualize, so not everybody's visualizer, some people can visualize in more detail than others, you can just imagine just a white light energy, very loving, very kind and compassionate. You can imagine that this is the mind of your guru manifesting in this aspect for your benefit. This is if you have a teacher. So sitting cross-legged on a lotus. His face is radiant and beautiful. His lotus-like eyes, looking at us in this incredibly loving manner, knowing all these things that we've done wrong, that we do to harm ourselves and others, but it doesn't matter at all. Completely accepts us for who we are, warts and all. He's got this sweet red mouth, and his hair is black and held up in a top knot, and his arms are crossed at his heart, left underneath the right. The left is holding a bell representing wisdom, the right holding a vajra, which represents the indestructibility of compassion, and the two being crossed represents enlightenment itself, the development of infinite wisdom and infinite compassion. So I'll just say a quick refuge prayer to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened. By this practice of meditating on Guru Vajrasattva, may I reach Buddhahood so as to benefit all sentient beings. And so this is the second part here, developing compassion. So in order to develop compassion, we need other sentient beings. So in this case, first of all, the sentient beings that we have harmed, and then the sentient beings who have harmed us. So in the second case, it's sometimes a little bit more difficult to develop compassion for them. But if we think in the way that the harm that they've given us is just going to end up being suffering for them, so then we can have compassion. It's sort of out of our hands, it's being dealt with. We don't have to do anything. We don't have to retaliate. We just feel compassion. Now we just make a strong aspiration, again, to do this practice for the benefit of all sentient beings, including those who have harmed us. So the next one, the power of the remedy, this is the actual medicine. This is the practice of purification. So Matt, if you wouldn't mind putting up the mantra for people. So normally in the daily practice, when you're doing this on your own, you would do it 28 times. So 7 times for each one of these sections that we're going to do. But because of time constraints, we're doing it 3 times for each one. But I think as this practice goes on, we might try increasing the amount of mantras that we're doing as people become more familiar. So the first one is the purification of body. So you're purifying, there's 3 negativities of body. So that's the sexual misconduct, killing, and stealing. So you can just imagine if any you've done one of any of these 3, we'll just stick to the body for the time being. So you can visualize from Guru Vajrasattva's heart arcing around, coming in through your crown, this brilliant, radiant, white nectar. And it enters our crown and pours into us, filling our entire body completely. And as it keeps flowing, it forces out of our lower orifices, the lower parts of our body, all the harm that we have ever done with our body. As we recite the mantra, Om Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Dina Patita Dida Mebawa Sutokaya Mebawa Supokaya Mebawa Anarakta Mebawa Sawasidi Mempe Yatsa Sawa Kama Sutta Me Sitam Shriyam Kuruhum Ha 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 Ho Bhagawan Sawa Tata Gata Vajramami Mutsa Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sattva Ahum Pe Om Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Dina Patita Dida Mebawa Sutokaya Mebawa Supokaya Mebawa Anarakta Mebawa Sawasidi Mempe Yatsa Sawa Kama Sutta Me Sitam Shriyam Kuruhum Ha 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 Ho Bhagawan Sawa Tata Gata Vajramami Mutsa Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sattva Ahum Pe Om Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Dina Patita Dida Mebawa Sutokaya Mebawa Supokaya Mebawa Anarakta Mebawa Sawasidi Mempe Yatsa Sawa Kama Sutta Me Sitam Shriyam Kuruhum Ha 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 Ho Bhagawan Sawa Tata Gata Vajramami Mutsa Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sattva Ahum Pe. Now we feel absolutely delighted that all the harm that we have done to any sentient being with our body has been completely purified. And there's nothing we can do right now except be of benefit to others. The next one is the purification of our speech. So there's 4 negativities of our speech. Harsh speech, talking about people behind their backs, lying, and gossiping, just like rabbiting on about nothing in particular and boring people to death. So if you can think of anything that you've done, and for most of us it's usually talking about people behind their back, complaining about this or that. So now we visualize Guru Vajrasattva from his heart pouring into us through the crown of our head. Again, this blissful, radiant, white nectar pouring into us, except this time the nectar is flowing upwards. And it's almost like, you know, when you have a dirty glass and all the kind of gunk floats up to the top. It's the same in this way. So all the negativities of our speech are floating up to on the top of this blissful, radiant white nectar, pouring out through the upper parts of our body. And it disappears into space. Om Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Dina Patita Dina Mebawa Sutokaya Mebawa Supokaya Mebawa Anarakta Mebawa Sawasidi Mepe Yatsa Sawa Kama Sutame Stitam Shriyam Kuruhum Ha 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 Ho Bhagawan Sawa Tathagata Vajramame Mutsa Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sattva Ahum Pe Om Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Dina Patita Dina Mebawa Sutokaya Mebawa Supokaya Mebawa Anarakta Mebawa Sawasidi Mepe Yata Sawa Kama Sutame Sitam Shriyam Kuruhum Ha 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 Ho Bhagawan Sawa Tathagata Vajramame Mutsa Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sattva Ahum Pe Om Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Dina Patita Dida Mebawa Sutokaya Mebawa Supokaya Mebawa Anarakta Mebawa Sawasidi Mepe Yata Sawa Kama Sutame Sitam Shriyam Kuruhum Ha 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 Ho Bhagawan Sawa Tathagata Vajramame Mutsa Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sattva Ahum Pe. So just imagine that all the gossip and harsh speech and useless speech and lying and talking badly about others behind their back is completely purified by this powerful nectar that has been pouring into us. And just think now, again, feel really, really happy and delighted that our speech is completely purified. And imagine that it's not possible to do any harm to anybody or any sentient being with our speech. And the next one is a purification of the mind. So Guru Vajrasattva now very compassionately sends powerful beams of laser light this time from his heart chakra, arcing around into the crown of our head. And the minute that light hits our body, and particularly our heart chakra, all the negativities of our mind are completely dispelled. And sort of LAMA YESHE says in this way, it's almost like when you walk into a room, a dark room, and you switch on a light. The light dispels the darkness instantly. So we have anger, ill will towards others, and jealousy, and attachment and grasping and ignorance. So just visualize all these negativities being completely dispelled by this brilliant, radiant white light as you recite the mantra. Om Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Dina Patita Dida Mebawa Sutokaya Mebawa Supokaya Mebawa Anarakta Mebawa Sawasidi Mebe Yatsa Sawa Kama Sutame Sitam Shriyam Kuruhum Ha 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 Ho Bhagawan Sawa Tathagata Vajramame Mutsa Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sattva Ahum Pe Om Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Dina Patita Dida Mebawa Sutokaya Mebawa Supokaya Mebawa Anarakta Mebawa Sawasidi Mepe Yata Sawa Kama Sutame Sitam Shriyam Kuruhum Ha 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 Ho Bhagawan Sawa Tathagata Vajramame Mutsa Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sattva Ahum Pe Om Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Dina Patita Dina Mebawa Sutokaya Mebawa Supokaya Mebawa Anarakta Mebawa Sawasidi Mepe Yatsa Sawa Kama Sutame Sitam Shriyam Kuruhum Ha 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 Ho Bhagawan Sawa Tathagata Vajramame Mutsa Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sattva Ahum Pe. And think now there is no space in our mind for anything but love and kindness and forgiveness and bliss. All the negativity is gone. So this last one is the purification of the imprints of negativity of the body, speech, and mind. So this is the one where we try and do those 3 visualizations simultaneously. And if that's a bit tricky, you can just imagine light and nectar just pouring into you as all the, just even the subtlest imprints of the negativities of the body, the speech and the mind, all completely purified. Vajrasattva samaya manupalaya Vajrasattva dina patita dida mebowa sutokaya mebowa supokaya mebowa anarakta mebowa sawasidi mepi yatsa sawa kama sutta me sitam shriyam karuhum ha 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 ho bhagavan sawa tatakata vajramami mutsa vajrabhava mahasamaya sattva aham pe. Vajrasattva samaya manupalaya Vajrasattva dina patita Nira mebowa, sutokaya mebowa, supokaya mebowa, anarakta mebowa, sawasidi mimpi yatsa sawa kama sutta me, sitam shriyam kuruhum ha 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 ho bhagavan, sawa tatakata vajramami mutsa vajrabhava mahasamaya sattva ahum pe. Vajrasattva samaya manupalaya Vajrasattva dina patita Dida mebowa sutokaya mebowa supokaya mebowa anarakta mebowa sawasidi mimpi yatsa sawa kama sutta me sitam shriyam kuruhum ha 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 ho bhagavan sawa tatakata vajramami mutsa vajrabhava mahasamaya sattva ahum pe. Now we feel just completely purified, not one atom of negativity left in our mind streams, and even the subtlest imprints completely removed. So next, the final of the 4 opponent powers is the power of resolve. And this is just really crucial. This is this idea that we determine to try not to do these negativities again. We try in some way to do just less and less. So if we have it a habit to do something, maybe just think, well, I won't do this thing for 5 minutes or 1 minute or 1 second. And we don't try not to lie to ourselves. Try not to give us like a New Year's resolution that we're going to break tomorrow. Just slowly, slowly, step by step. And maybe we just think of one thing that we'd like to work on. Trying to reduce. And be kind to ourselves, be compassionate and realistic. Just baby steps. And this determination or this wish we have to not do these things again is what gives us the strength and courage to make changes. So next we just imagine that Guru Vajrasattva, the mind of our Guru, is completely delighted with us. Guru Vajrasattva melts into light and just kind of absorbs into us through the crown. And as this is happening, we think, my Guru's body, speech and mind, Vajrasattva's body, speech and mind, and my own body, speech and mind are the same thing. LAMA YESHE calls this union oneness. So next, Lama Zopa Rinpoche says we should think about meditating on the emptiness of the 3 circles. In emptiness, there is no I, creator of negative karma. There is no action of creating negative karma. And there is no negative karma created. So try and think about all phenomena being empty, just at whatever level we understand that. So just think very, very simply, things do not exist from their own side. They do not exist the way we think they do. And we all know that from if we wake up in the morning and we're in a bad mood, things look very different when we feel happy than when we feel happy. Matt, do you have the 4 immeasurables there? We'll dedicate with those. Measurable equanimity. How wonderful it would be if all sentient beings were to abide in equanimity, free from the closeness of attachment and the distance of hatred. May they abide in equanimity. I myself will cause them to abide in equanimity. Please, Guru Deity, bless me to be able to do this. Immeasurable loving kindness. How wonderful it would be if all sentient beings were to achieve Buddhahood. May they achieve Buddhahood. I myself will cause them to achieve Buddhahood. Please, Guru Deity, bless me to be able to do this. Immeasurable compassion. How wonderful it would be if all sentient beings were free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they be free from suffering and its causes. I myself will cause them to be free from suffering and its causes. Please, Guru Deity, bless me to be able to do this. Immeasurable joyfulness. How wonderful it would be if all sentient beings were never separated from the happiness of higher rebirth and liberation. May they never be separated from these. I myself will cause them never to be separated from them. Please, Guru Deity, bless me to be able to do this. So just some dedication prayers. Go back just one. There we go. As a result of the 3 times merits of myself and others, may bodhicitta, from which the happiness of all sentient beings comes, be generated in the minds of self and other sentient beings without delay for even 1 second, and that which has been generated may it increase. So let's just move on to the long life prayers. For His Holiness the Dalai Lama, the wish-granting, wish-fulfilling jewel, source of every single benefit and happiness in this world, to the incomparably kind Tenzin Gyatso I beseech, may all your holy wishes be spontaneously fulfilled. And then Lama Zopa Rinpoche, you who uphold the subduer's moral way, who serve as the bountiful bearer of all, sustaining, preserving, and spreading Manjunath's victorious doctrine, who masterfully accomplish magnificent prayers, honoring the 3 jewels, savor of myself and others, your disciples, please, please live long. Lama Usul. Venerable One, to you whose kindness exceeds that of all the conquerors, for those wanderers in far-off places, especially the West, mindful of your loving concern for us and intentionally descending again into a family of a far distant land, we make this request. O Lama, please, please live long. Okay, there we are, done and dusted, ready for bed. So you can go to bed with a happy mind. Now you're all pure and shiny. Okay. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you, Venerable